You don't need to watch another study tips video, and the top students that I have coached are not watching videos back to back to back to back. They might watch a few, but what sets them apart is that they turn information that they consume into expertise. And it's that expertise that will actually help you get top results without having to watch hours and hours of study videos days on end. So how do we go ahead and develop that expertise? Well, having coached thousands of students achieve top ranks nationally, I found the quickest and most effective way is by following something called the learning cycle. And so in this video, I'm going to break down the 5 stages of the learning cycle. And at the end, I'll be mentioning why I'm going to stop making study videos like I have been for the last 4 years. So let's start with the first stage of the learning cycle, information. If we want to be able to learn something, we do need information to learn from. And study videos can be incredibly helpful for this purpose. You know, there are so many valuable videos online and advice that is out there. You can even find a whole university course if you really wanted to on YouTube, like an 8-hour Harvard coding course that covers like an entire semester's worth. But here's the problem. There's too much study advice online. As someone once commented on my channel, they said it can get pretty overwhelming. And I constantly see students watching hundreds of study tips videos on YouTube and not improving, and then they go back for more and more and more. And so they become stuck in this endless cycle that holds them back from actually getting their dream grades. But the thing is, and I've shared lots about what I know about studying, and so have many others in this community, basically there's all the studies tips that you would ever need already out there. We all already have access to the same information. So why do some people end up doing better then? Well, it's because information isn't what is holding you back. For example, what would you say to the person who watches countless videos on how to drive, but actually never gets behind the wheel and actually does the thing? Well, you need to actually go ahead and act on the information that you are learning. You need to take action. And that's why action is actually the second step of the learning cycle. So taking action, it is quite simple, but it doesn't necessarily mean that it's easy. Like take this example, you go to the gym and you want to go every day. It's a very simple concept, but actually going ahead and doing this every single day in and day out is quite challenging. As things come up, you can't be bothered, you're tired one day, maybe an emergency happens, and then now this habit is starting to fall off and then it just disappears. And now it's just one of those old New Year's resolutions that you once upon a time had. So basically it is simple, not easy. And with that being said, taking action isn't actually the full picture. First of all, well, we know, again, taking action is hard. And I've spoken to students who they're very excited. This happens all the time. They're very excited at the start, but as the first weeks and months go by, they start to doubt their progress and they lose that consistency. They fall back into watching more and more study videos because it gives them dopamine, because it sounds like something new and exciting. And it's this kind of pessimism that has now been replaced with this uninformed optimism. And another problem is even when you watch a study video and then take action, well, what if you are taking the wrong action? You might be building the wrong foundations, right? For example, if you're learning how to serve in tennis and you just keep hitting the ball and you just do the lollipop serve, then you will get better at serving. But what if your technique's wrong? Well, now you're just going to be getting better at doing it wrong. And that's not going to help you in the long run, especially if you want to get to the higher levels of competition where now not everyone is just doing this little lollipop serve and actually doing the full motion. And so just consuming information and taking action is not enough for you to achieve top results. And this is because these are only the first 2 steps of the learning cycle. In fact, there are 3 more steps left. And these final 3 are what actually take the most time and have the biggest impact on your results. And that's why the 3rd stage in the learning cycle is self-feedback. The reason why you want to do self-feedback is because you're supposed to know the most about yourself because you are yourself. You're going to be most in tune with all of the feelings that you're actually feeling. Even if you get a tutor or a coach, they don't know as much about you as yourself because you have the most context about yourself. And honestly, the best way to become the best at anything is by not relying on other people. And I see this all the time. Let's say there's some students, they see a tutor once a week and maybe the tutor is the only time that they actually feel like they're learning. And this happens very, very often. And so what you're basically telling me is that for the next 40 hours that you study in that week, you're just achieving nothing because you only learn when you're with your tutor. It just really means you're missing out on all of that other time, right? And you need to be able to use other people to enhance you, but you need to be actually basically your own coach and even your own tutor to a degree. After coaching so many students, it's not that they don't know how to do self-feedback, it's that they don't want to do self-feedback. It is so much easier to say, oh, I just suck at this topic, as opposed to genuinely asking yourself, why don't I understand this material? What are my weaknesses? Almost everyone never makes the time to do feedback because they just think, well, if I just do the next question, that will just help me more than giving myself feedback. But as we just mentioned, taking more action, which is stage 2, is not a substitute for stage 3, which is self-feedback in this learning cycle. Self-feedback is very hard. It is challenging. It is simple, but not easy. And it is hard, but this is the hard work that you have to do if you want to get those top results. And students tell me all the time, yes, I am willing to work hard, Archer. Well, not really if you can't go through this. Now, once you've started with self-feedback, there's one key step that can make it much more effective over time. And this is important because when giving feedback to yourself, there is a major challenge. You don't know what you don't know. For example, if you don't realize to use a specific equation for a problem, you just won't know unless either you just somehow figure it out yourself or someone else points out that blind spot for you. The good news is that there are people around you who are learning the exact same material, going through similar challenges, but with completely different perspectives. And there is absolutely a lot that you can learn from that, which is why all of the top students, they make use of something at stage 4, which is peer feedback. Now, a common thing people say here is, well, why don't I just go ahead, speak to an expert, speak to a teacher, a tutor, and just get my feedback from them? Well, experts are very good, but still, they're actually going to be more detached from what your experience is like. And there are certain things that you will learn from your peers that you just won't learn from an expert. And this is especially in terms of emotional support, which is something you can't discredit. Just to give an example, group study is a great place to get peer feedback. Now, I don't particularly like using the term group study because people think it means just studying together, but it's not. Instead, it's like where you actually come to the session saying, here are my strengths and my weaknesses. Can you please ask me questions about it? Or if this was about like a sport, it would just be like, okay, well, I'm really struggling with my backhand, and I'm struggling with my tennis serve. Can you please give me some tips? It's a very targeted discussion, and that's how you make the most out of your peer feedback, by being specific. The final stage of the learning cycle is where it becomes beneficial to now reach out to a tutor, a coach, or someone who has already achieved what you're aiming for, and they're many leaps ahead. And so this final stage is called expert feedback. Experts bring immense value because they've worked with thousands of people in your exact position. They've seen the same challenges, they've seen the same solutions, they've seen these patterns many times before, and this actually gives them unique insights that can guide you specifically more effectively in your certain situation. It's not unique to them. And I've had a mentor who's helped me with many challenges around, for example, how to work more efficiently, work better, get more done, get it done to a higher quality, and they've worked with countless employees, countless clients all over the years, and so working with this mentor meant that I didn't have to make the same mistake as the 10,000 other people that they've worked with before. And that in itself is so powerful. And if you think about it, there's been hundreds of millions of students who have gone through the education system since its existence. Why can we not just learn from what they have done and the mistakes that they have made? We never barely talk about this. So there's one extra thing I have to mention about this, but so far we have covered each aspect of the full learning cycle, from information to action to self-feedback to peer feedback and then expert feedback. And this all loops back to gathering more information to take that action again. By following the learning cycle, you'll now be able to watch just a few study videos and truly benefit from them. But to bring this back again, the issue with study videos is that typically they're only focusing on just the information stage. Now, why do they do this? Well, because it's much harder to create videos around the stages of self-feedback, peer feedback, or expert feedback. Like what do those stages even look like? And study videos, they often provide this high-level advice and frameworks that help you go from step 0 to step 100. And yes, that is useful, but that's actually why they exist, but they don't show you all the little steps in between from 0 to 100. And honestly, on a day-to-day basis, those in between steps are actually way more valuable. For example, let's say that you've just started using a new study technique and you've got this important exam coming up. This is the very first time you've had something like this. You're so nervous, your brain's about to explode, and you're doing it correctly, and you're wondering like, okay, well, is this actually going to work? How do you deal with that? You know, what's going through your mind, and how do you know if this is okay, right? What does this look like when it's working versus when it's not working? What if I'm seeing that it's working, but maybe it's not actually working? How do I even evaluate that? If nothing is happening, is that a good thing or a bad thing? And then at the end of it, you're really asking yourself, well, what does this journey actually even look like? That's why it's so much more helpful to have someone who has walked the path just a few years ahead of you, showing you how it's done. And that's my mission with this YouTube channel. I genuinely want my videos to help you, not by just giving you high-level advice, but by actually showing you what it's actually like in the trenches. Study videos, they often just show this ideal scenario when everything is just going right. But for the most of us, it doesn't go smoothly pretty much all of the time. And I want to share that side with you because that's what the learning journey actually feels like. That's why moving forward, I'll be making more videos documenting my journey towards becoming the most productive and healthiest person that I can be. And I know this is a goal that many of you share as well. And I'm going to be doing this from the perspective of a 23-year-old pursuing entrepreneurship. I want to show you the real behind the scenes process, no fluff, no generic advice, just showing the raw reality of what's happening. And look, I'm really excited to begin this new chapter with you.